That can certainly head towards the top side. I'm excited to see whether we're going to get the really interesting Akali build that involves Death's Dance and Trinity Force. It's been lightly sprinkled across Korean solo queue. Most likely not going to happen, though.
Really interesting to see Akali coming out here, as a lot of people do still think that she is too weak.
Yeah.
To be competitively viable, and Griffin now going with the Olaf.
Feels like a little bit of a worrisome pick for Tarzan. Hasn't been able to get too much done in the early stages of this game, but up against the Kha'Zix, see whether he's going to be able to get the work done. But this composition does look very controlled. On the side of Griffin, they'll be able to teamfight very nicely. They've got a lot of CC, they've got a lot of follow-up, and they've got that non-committal CC for the engagements to come in from Lehens if you can land these death sentences. That being said, I mean, bottom lane is going to work very well for the Afreeca Freecs, especially in the early stages, and Dread should be able to get around this map quite nicely. We'll see where the priority is going to lie with the Akali and the Galio, because not a lot of range between those two champions.
Definitely not. We're about to take one last look at both of the team compositions. On the side of Afreeca, Lucian, Braum, Galio, Kha'Zix, and Akali. So obviously mid-game explosiveness inside of this team comp. Everyone comes online at one item.
Yep.
And that's probably where they're looking to skirmish and accelerate ahead, because they need to get ahead with this type of a team composition. They do not have the ability to go late. Now on the flip side for Griffin. Okay, here we go. I thought it was just heading right into the game. I'm like, what's going on here? Rise, Olaf, Lissandra, Kaisa, and Thresh. So obviously wanting to have a mid into late game transition here. They obviously have some potency with the Olaf early on. Rise is the champion that could accelerate ahead the fastest here and really run away from Afreeca. But we'll see what happens here.
Yeah, but
game number 3.
We did see Cuba actually have a decent time on the Nico against the Rise. This is a very different story as we move into game number 3. Can Afreeca do it? Or will Griffin? And finally, Chovy is playing as the Lissandra and not against the Lissandra. It's been a lot about Griffin playing around this particular champion, not necessarily picking it up. Let's see what Chovy's going to be able to do. Like you say, Griffin pretty comfortable when it comes to moving this comp towards late game. But Afreeca do have a hell of a lot of tools if they manage to find some good fights in the mid game.
Yep.
You got Twilight Shroud to buy time for the hero's entrance to come in, and this is a Galio played from the mid lane, so that hero's entrance is going to be much more useful around top side of the map once that level 6 has been hit.
And one of the things is that both of these team compositions are sort of like the balance. I actually forget the word for it when, you know, like the sun and moon have the even balance and then total fade. I think there's a word for this.
Yeah, there is.
And I'm forgetting what it is, but that is what both of these team comps are. When Afreeca is at their peak, that is where Griffin's team composition is just about to come online. And that's the thin balance between the two. And it mostly comes down to, can Griffin weather that storm, or can they get ahead to a point where they just accelerate it to the point where Afreeca never gets to come online?
That could be the option. I think the word might be Equinox. Potentially. I don't know. I just really like that word. You give it a cheeky Google. Let's find out for sure.
If anyone knows, they can feel free to tweet at us.
Yep.
And
we are also capable of doing our own research, so don't worry. You don't need to take it upon yourselves to educate us. Afreeca shoved underneath this turret, but it is not a Callista this time, so we'll see whether Griffin are going to still have as much control. That's a hook. That's going to land, but that is going to be unbreakable, and Jelly takes negligible damage from the exchange. Tarzan's going to come in, lands the first undertow, but Sun, I like that strategy. Walk casually. And that's going to get him out of trouble.
He ends up taking 2 axes to the face and doesn't die from it, so if that's not Thanos, I don't know what is.
Yeah. just perfect, basically.
Absolutely fantastic. As double Scuttle Crab here, going to be picked up for Griffin. I don't like this more than just a full clear for Olaf, and the reason that I say that is because the Kha'Zix has absolutely zero gank setup potential. Can't gank for the Akali in top lane. It's completely impossible.
Whoa. Okay.
Can't gank for the Galio in mid lane because the Lissandra is just going to be trying to shove in, utilize the corrupted potions, crash a couple of waves, have them bounce back in, and then everything's going to be relatively safe.
It's a Colossal Smash. Nice work from Sun.
Ends up taking 2 auto attacks right there, but anyways, nonetheless, Kha'Zix now transitioning into his Krug camp down at the bottom, and then he'll have Rubber Banded camps coming back up, and honestly, his route should just be never-ending clears because it's almost impossible to gank any of these lanes. He can look for something down here right now, but because Aiming's auto-attacking Viper, Viper's minions are stopping their aggro onto Aiming's minions, and thus a slow push is generated into Griffin. So,
oh, that's a flash.
Yeah.
Trade him between Jelly and Viper. Sounds great to me. Death sentence goes wide, and Afreeca will probably trade up there.
Sword is managing to fall behind as Rise against Akali.
Yeah. That being said, Keen, very good Akali player, and a very good player just in general. When Akali first got reworked, Keen was one of our most hopeful players to really make her work, and it wasn't necessarily the top lane that Akali shone here in the LCK. It was mostly the mid lane. She felt like a bit of a trap when it came to the top lane.
Well, so far here, I mean, she still has her red potion available, has the Doron shield, and Sword hasn't utilized any of his refillable potions. So definitely losing out on auto attack ability. Oh,
that's a flash play. Yeah, exactly right. Jelly does have stand behind me, so he's absolutely fine. But Chovy's going to teleport in. That's the flash. That's the Circle of Frost. Tarzan wants to get in on the action as well as First Blood goes down. It's the Braum, and then Aiming follows up very easily. It's in fact Tarzan that grabs it with a reckless swing. Didn't want to waste his time by making the full rotation. Griffin once again strike first.
And that was a really good teleport usage by Chovy. As Sun looking like he might get caught out. Oh, Dread.
Yeah, not going to find the undertow though. That's a bit of a short arm there from Tarzan as Sun has the taunt. Is going to be able to taunt up the Lissandra. Chovy taking a lot of damage there as Dread has to leap his way out. That's Keen trying to get in, but I don't know whether he's going to be able to. Aiming turns up and finally grabs that one as the Galio is the one traded forward. Keen now does have a lot of extra duration on his Twilight Shroud, and Afreeca thinking about heading towards this Rift Scuttler as Teleport is going to get Sword back top lane.
And this is a really good trade overall for Griffin. Sword's getting back into top lane. He gets first priority onto the wave. We'll see if he ends up wanting to fast push it and then crash. Doesn't look like he's interested in that. I think that a freeze is actually coming his way, so... well, don't know. He expended some of his mana.
Well, we'll have to check in.
Yeah, we'll have to check in on that in just a second here. As we take another quick look at the replay here. Chovy was recalled. It was beautiful timing. Teleport comes in. Aiming, he had flash available, but doesn't end up utilizing it. Maybe wanting to save it for a situation in the future in which he thinks that he can get more value out of it, rather than just trying to live right there and teleport back immediately. Here it looked like Dread and Sun were trying to bait Griffin in for a second, as you can see. Both teleports instantaneous. Chovy, though, walking into his death, as Lehens did a really good job at locking up Keen. And right there, Dread almost went into lethal range, but Tarzan not quite able to finalize the kill onto him.
Yep. And that's going to mean that the Olaf does have a slight advantage here in the jungle. Hit by a couple of camps, something like that. That is a lot of Dark Seals from Sun. Got one stack on all three of them. Just trying to keep himself healthy. Corrupting Potion going to be getting him a whole bunch of that health back. And you can see Winds of War now at level 7 is doing a fair bit of Dark Passage. Gets Viper out of trouble. So far this bottom lane is done very, very well for Griffin, especially with that engagement, playing around jungler locations and the top lane and the mid lane roam. Teleport timing's just so good. Here for Griffin is Lehens. Oh, that's one way to use a Relic Shield right there.
Yep, that was a beautiful death sentence onto the cannon minion.
That's a priority target.
And so right now, 1.1k gold lead. Mountain Drake still first dragon of the game, has not been taken yet. Should be a pretty high priority here for both of the teams.
Yeah. See who's going to be able to get down there first as far as our top laners, or whether or not they're even going to be involved in that particular skirmish. Dread, just trying to get some deep vision down, wants to get some knowledge on whether this red buff is spawned or not. It's a control ward very, very deep into the enemy jungle, as Mountain Drake could just go over to Tarzan here if they do have any knowledge. This is a huge wraparound from Dread. They want to go for this dive. Remember, Akali doesn't work like that anymore, as they are going to be very squishy, and that's a lot of damage that Keen has taken. Realm Warp from Sword as Dread wants to get over here. Okay, Sun had the hero's entrance, but I just don't know whether that was the right choice from Sword. Gets himself between the turrets, so now no one on Afreeca's team is going to die.
And that was a pretty good pickup there by Afreeca. It does end up resulting in Chovy getting a plate and a wave in mid lane, but Keen going to be able to bite back himself and get himself a plate up here in the top lane, as well as cause Sword to miss out on a cannon minion.
Yep. Two plates.
Yeah, Chovy 2 plates in mid lane and another wave crash. So take another quick look at this. The Observer highlighted that Ryze did not yet have his Aftershock available. Very good CSing by Sword. Tries to get out of here, flashes, but it was already too late.
Yeah, just unfortunately, the Realm Warp doesn't go very far until we got a couple of extra levels in it. Now Griffin should be able to take down this Mountain Drake. That'll be that first Drake going down at around 10 minutes into this game. Tower plating is still available. A couple have been taken in the mid lane. One's been taken on top. Looks like Keen is going towards Hextech Gunblade build. Still very effective, and it is the one that most people are going towards, but I'd like to see someone experiment with this Trinity Force, Death's Dance, Sterix Gauge type Bruiser Akali business.
Here, Griffin up 1k. They have the Mountain Drake now. If they want to look for lane swaps, they could end up doing it in just a couple of moments here, as Cloud Drake is the next one of the game in 4.5 minutes. And the Olaf, he has the Cinderhulk, he has the Predator boots, but Proto Belt still going to be a little bit of ways away for Chovy here.
Now Tarzan's going to be spotted on a ward as Dread wants to get over here. Control ward is down. Tarzan already taking a heck of a lot of damage. The smite was used, but I don't even know whether it's going to save him. Voidassault comes in as Keen's going to get the flash off. The ultimate's there, and Tarzan just throws his stopwatch in the bin before he dies. It's unfortunate. Fight breaks out bottom side as well, but these minions are what Griffin wants, so they're not going to pursue any further. And now Afreeca Freecs looking for Shelly once again here in game number 3.
Shelly's going to be coming with Dread, and Dread has the experience lead as well over Tarzan. Keen now with that red buff as well. This is a very unfortunate situation for Griffin to find themselves in. Ryze has to be really careful. He doesn't have flash. Oh, man.
And Chovy doesn't have control of the wave, so you can see the Galio is able to make first rotation. Chovy is going to get in here, but it looks like Shelly will just be taken down. And Dread does pick it up. Thank goodness for that. Don't want to see that one missed yet again, as he's going to go back home. See what else he can buy just yet. Might be a serrated Dirk that he's able to pick up. No, only a long sword to come in for the Kha'Zix.
2 control wards. We'll take another quick look at this again. Dread is already level 7 when he comes over. Elects to go for the smite onto Tarzan rather than try to steal away the experience. So with that red smite, able to deal quite a bit of damage. Keen able to get in there right at the very end and get the kill.
Yep, and the ultimate is enough. Look at Yuka's face. Very, very happy. As we've got everyone from the Afreeca Freecs 10-man roster, of course, guys, so everyone is sitting there in the booth enjoying the game. As I've seen this play before, guys. It didn't work out so well for Sword, as they do get a teleport out for it. Pretty comfortable as the Afreeca Freecs move up. That is going to be another plate going down, and Chovy just going to be up there helping out the Ryze. We have a look at the gold. It's 1,000 in favor of Griffin. A lot of that having to do with the few extra plates in the mid lane going down in favor of Chovy, and also some farm numbers that look pretty good. As Keen gets his somersault off.
Yeah, trying to stop the recall. Sword does have the teleport available. Maybe he ends up TPing onto a minion, and if he does that, could be disastrous. But
Oh dear, he is going to use it. There's Rift Herald. It's going to be used over this wall, and Dread, he's going to jump on forward. Hero's entrance comes down as now Keen wasn't actually tanking that turret, actually dives back forward. Twilight Shroud doesn't work like that anymore as they go 1-for-1, but there's a whole lot of turret plates coming in. That's a death sentence if ever I've seen one from Lahans as he puts down the box, and the Gargoyle has absolutely nowhere to go. Triple taunt, really nice, but you're still dead, mate. Now Freecs are able to get a lot of turret plates bot lane as well.
Yeah, they got a lot of plates up in top lane. They're going to be able to get quite a bit of plates down in bottom lane too, actually. They might be able to get the whole thing, yeah. Now, meanwhile though, Griffin are getting a lot of plates for themselves. Unfortunately though, it's on the utility champions on their team. The Lissandra, the Olaf, and the Thresh are not the primary carries. They're not the primary damage dealers, and so right here, Viper.
Yeah, able to use the ultimate Killer Instinct to try and get himself out, but has to flash as well. Tower falls down top, tower falls down bot. And the gold once again goes back to 1,000 in favor of Griffin. Basically parity after that play, top side of the map. And Afreeca aren't going to be too worried about it. They want to open this map as much as they can to get these skirmishes happening in the mid-game.
Take another quick look at it as Rise able to utilize that Aftershock. Helps with absorbing so much damage. Dread was doing a really good job at tanking, but you really got to hand it to Lahens and Tarzan for reading this correctly. They were passing up into top lane knowing that maybe Keen, with as aggressive and forward as he was being, perhaps this was the play that was just laying on the horizon, and they end up matching it, doing very well, and 1.2k gold lead in favor of Griffin.
Yeah, it's not a huge one. Certainly one that Griffin are going to be very happy with, given the fact that they're the ones that are happy to scale. They've got a Rise, they've got a Kai'Sa, they've got a hell of a lot of late game insurance. As Chovy comes on over with the Glacial Path, throws out the ultimate, in fact, onto Jelly, but Jelly had Unbreakable, mitigated a lot of damage, and he's going to be absolutely fine, but will need to go home, most likely. Get some of that health back. Ocean Drake is live, but it's going to be dead very, very quickly, and by Ocean Drake, I mean Cloud Drake. The next one is going to be an Ocean.
Not the highest priority dragon for either of these teams to really risk committing too heavily to.
And item spikes are coming in, LS. We've got the Hextech Gunblade here for Keen. We've got the Blade of the Ruined King and a Phage. Down for aiming, very close to grabbing those next couple of items, and Sun's got a Proto Belt. I think it's almost about time to fight for the Afreeca Freecs to utilize this mid-game composition with how sneaky they are, with how well they're able to generate picks with the hero's entrance.
Say they have, on average, probably about 8 minutes until the threshold for items are crossed, in which case it's going to start becoming favorable for Griffin from that point forward.
Yep.
Afreeca.
Tower going to go down.
Yep.
As Lahens turns up, and Dread's going to be here as well. Frozen Tomb is in there. That's another death sentence to write home about. It's beautiful, but not beautiful enough, as Chovy is going to be the one that goes down, and Jelly once again just using his whole health bar. That's what a tank wants to do. Really nicely done from Afreeca.
And Afreeca ends up clenching themselves a gold advantage right now. Now, that mid-tier 1 turret is so healthy, and the siege on the side of Afreeca is not there. It's very difficult for them to penetrate that turret, so it's definitely going to be a thorn in their side. Although they're looking like they want to do it here, they want to utilize the fact that Chovy doesn't have teleport, and he can't come, and Griffin, you're going to be forced to give it up. Sword not in position.
Yeah, Kane actually buying 2 people's time here on the side of Griffin. They do eventually get themselves in there, and there are low health bars on the Afreeca side. Winds of War does mean that Tarzan has to be a little bit more respectful, but they only lose a chunk of health and not an entire turret. Do Griffin.
Definitely a valuable chip damage, though, achieved for Afreeca, as everyone goes back to doing their own thing. We take another quick look at the replay. It feels like Lissandra's ultimate is almost always up. Every single time you look down at it. Death sentence ended up being landed, but it didn't matter as Lissandra was locked up, unable to follow up on the kill there. Otherwise, it would have been a 1-for-1.
Yep, 5-5 is now the kill score. And look, we're coming out of the trough. Afreeca, they've switched it around. It's going to be a slight gold advantage for them after all is said and done. After that play in the mid lane. Gunblade in hand, stopwatch now available as well for Keen. He moves back towards the bottom side of the map in the split push. will certainly be available here. More of a 4-1 composition, though. Don't know whether you'd be wanting the Galio in a side lane, although he does have teleport and heroic entrance if things do get dicey.
Oh, Chovy.
Oh my goodness, I've seen this one before. He gets himself into the brush, but there's the stun. Hero's entrance comes down as the culling. All right, Chovy able to get out of there, but there's the taunt. And Afreeca, it looks like they knew that they may not have quite enough, as there's the Glacial Fissure. Aiming now, trying to kite this one back. Oh, that Relentless Pursuit was absolutely stunning, as now Dread off to the side. There's the flash play, and Lahans has played this game so well. He might be heading towards double MVPs as Viper is able to finish that one off. The Braum was not long for the world, and Griffin do answer back.
Yeah, and that was really unfortunate. They locked up Chovy, but he was able to get his ultimate off right at the very end. And because of that, enough time ended up being drawn out for the rest of Griffin to get there. Reinforcements arrived. Keen didn't have teleport, wasn't able to do anything at all during all of this. And now the gold advantage ever so slightly swings back in favor of Griffin. And time is running out for the Afreeca team composition.
Yeah.
Take a look at this again. One Braum passive away. Galio
one auto
lands.
attack hit a minion.
Yeah. He goes for the Justice Punch in order to try to get the CC onto Chovy, but in doing so, Chovy was able to get away. The rest of Griffin able to get there. Look at Tarzan on the Keen on the minimap. He can't do anything. He's not in a position. And so multiple members end up going down there. And Afreeca, they have their items right now, but Griffin, they're about to come online with more valuable items, and their team composition is way better suited. Guinsu's Rage Blade almost complete now for Kaisa. Seraph's Embrace for Ryze. Righteous Glory for Ryze. These are all going to be extremely problematic item spikes for Afreeca to try to handle.
Yeah. Speaking of item spikes, Viper's done what we wanted a lot of our Kaisers to do. We saw Kaisers a couple of days ago going towards this new Storm Razor build. Now that it's been buffed, it was Viper that was the one that was talking about it. He's the sort of mastermind of it here in Korean solo queue at least. Sort of one of the starts, and he took the fleet footwork, thank goodness. So he's actually getting something out of it this time around. Good sidestep there from aiming, as Dread does steal away a blue buff. Tarzan takes a lantern ride to get himself out of the culling. And Afreeca Freecs, now they want this coveted Ocean Drake. There we go. Ryze's going to have to go back home. Does have teleport if they do want to start a fight here. As Afreeca will be able to take down this dragon. Teleports come in from Griffin as Viper gets himself back towards his team. Sword, he's splitting on the top side, and he can be there if he needs to be at a moment's notice.
Hit level 13. And everything is just very slow and steady right now. And Griffin aren't the ones that have an obligation to do anything. The onus isn't on them to look for a play or to make something happen. They're the ones that can be content with continuing to let the Ryze and the Kaisa scale.
And now they've got advantages as well. I mean, there's 10 CS ahead for Sword, as Keen was milling about around the objectives. So he's absolutely fine. You can see the Kaisa not too far behind, but aiming's having a much better time this game. QSS is complete, Black Cleaver done alongside his Blade of the Ruin King. So at least the Lucian is online. Also has a Zeke's available from Jelly.
QSS definitely not an item that you want, though, at this point in the game. And the reason that I say that is because it stunts your build.
Yeah, that could have been a BF sword.
Right. And because aiming doesn't have the cleanse available, he has to respect both the Rune Prison and the Lissandra ultimate. And it really stunts the amount of damage that he can dish out in fights. And damage is going to be hard to come by with how naturally tanky some of the Griffin champions are going to be.
Well, speaking of the Griffin champions, you mentioned the Ginsu's Rage Blade. That is now done. So, feeling very comfortable is Viper. A couple of items from Ryze, just picking those ones up. So as we move into this lull state, as you like to call it, LS, it is going to be a slight advantage here for Griffin as their item spikes feel better. Hook's going to land there, but aiming not going to be in too much trouble, just QSS is out of the way. Another hook lands from Lahans, gets himself back forward, and this one's going to ring true. Okay, ultimate flies in as Ragnarok is going to be utilized, and Jelly's not going to be able to stop that one. Chovy comes on over. That's all too easy. Griffin very, very close to the Baron. Why not just pick that one up? You may as well. You earned it with those couple of kills.
They don't have a Baron, but it doesn't matter. They shred through this so much. And unless Keen can make a miracle.
Well, Sun's going to be in there as well. Does have the taunt available. Lehens goes golden. That's going to be Tarzan locking down the Baron. And the Akali just throws herself back in. That felt like a ritual sacrifice and not one that you want if you're an Afreeca fan. As Griffin, they tidy up the kills, they tidy up the Baron. They're looking to tidy up this series.
I think that with the Baron, that is probably the nail in the coffin. I think that the threshold has really been reached for Griffin's team composition. Now with the Baron, they're certainly going to get so many more advantages. We just take a look. Another death sentence. Lehens has been so on point here.
It's been one of his cleanest performances so far this season, actually. I mean, we've had some question marks around Lehens' play, his flash cocoons, of course, in his support Elise game, but this has just been exceptional. From last game's Galio to this game's Thresh, he's looking like he can do no wrong. We're back in the League of Lehens, it feels like.
Just a relatively clean Baron. Afreeca trying to do their best to stop it, but not able to in the end. And it just feels like the game is truly slipping away from them at this point. Lethality on Kha'Zix, not the best of feelings.
I mean, he can do some damage to Chovy, as Aftershock's going to wear off and he's going to have to use the flash. To pay some respects, half the health bar on Dread as Jelly's just trying to tank up this damage. Keen waiting for a flank, but that's another death sentence. Of course it lands as Jelly. No unbreakable, a lot of worries here for Afreeca Freecs. Keen gets into the back line though, immediately Frozen Tomb comes in, but that is going to be the stopwatch utilized. Frozen Thrall now in the middle, 4-man taunt comes down from Sun. He's got a full health bar, but Griffin just kited on back. Chovy throws his life away, but do they have enough damage in the back line? As Viper just gets so much damage. Eventually he falls down, but Griffin, they do get the ace.
They get the ace at the end, aiming, able to get a love shot onto Viper right at the end there. This is going to be the mid-tier 1 turret falling, though, for Afreeca. But they did remove Baron from a lot of members right here. Aftershock ended up going down. Chovy forced to flash away over the wall onto the right-hand side. Predator was coming in from Tarzan. He was able to get onto Jelly. And you can see that Keen was keen on maybe looking for a fight, as Sword was still busy up in top lane. And so because of that, Tarzan got exceptionally low. Keen ended up getting locked up, as then Sword said, oh, okay, I'll teleport into the fight. Sun able to get a multi-man knockup, but you can just see how tanky a lot of the members on Griffin are, but aiming right at the very end there.
It's a lot of money actually going down. There are a few kills with some bounties available, as Viper was extraordinarily strong. Look at that damage that he was able to get off. Almost 5k by himself, doubling anybody else on his team. And then aiming did some of the work, but just wasn't enough there for the Afreeca Freecs. But maybe now, with a bit more money in their pockets, be able to get more. It's only a pickaxe that really translated to, though, for aiming, and that's not exactly going to be enough.
Well, Ocean Drake now being picked up here for Griffin.
Yep, pretty easy. 20 seconds left on the Baron, though, so Afreeca will be happy with the fact that they wasted so much time. Inner turret fell in the mid lane there as well, but Outer still stands on the bottom side. Will be Chovy trying to deal with that one as Lehens gets on over. And you definitely got to respect this guy's Thresh. He's been landing every hook.
4,000 gold lead here for Griffin at 26 minutes. Mountain going to be the next dragon of the game spawning, which Griffin can potentially look to try to capture and then have 2 of them for. But Realm Warp coming in.
Not going to actually put anyone there, but they did have to respect it. So no inner turret for you, Afreeca Freecs. A lot of chip damage there, though, and of course inner turrets do not regen. Viper finally able to take down the two-headed puppy. And yeah, this Kai'Sa is online.
Is
by
she?
the way. Yeah, basically. 3 items. Feels pretty good.
How do you know she's online? Does she have like a, you know, like a status message?
Yeah,
you know, like
it's
green, yellow, red.
It's when she gets 2 of them evolutions, my friend.
Oh yeah.
And that's after a Stormraiser.
Okay.
Feels pretty good. Also Ginsu's and some extra attack speed with Hurricane, AoE damage. Yeah, she feels good. Feels good. She's also 5, 1, and 8, so she's got to this point much earlier than you'd otherwise expect.
You know what, Atlas?
What do I know?
What do you think?
Something Karthus.
Nope, not impressed. 1 death. On the Kai'Sa. I'll never let it down.
No. I need to have defined KDAs, okay?
Right.
I don't like it when it just says perfect KDA. What is that? It could be 0-0-0. That's still a perfect KDA.
Yeah, it's perfect.
Yeah.
Better than 518.
Yeah.
Tell you that much.
Very true. 518 translates to a 13 KDA though, so that feels pretty good to me. Viper continuing to just build that one up, but Infinity Edge, speaking of building things, aiming does now have that item. Doesn't feel great without some extra crit, but feels better than it used to. It's going to be doing a fair bit of damage in these next upcoming fights. The gold is just starting to get worse and worse for the Afreeca Freecs. At this point, it feels like the slow circling of the drain as the comp that scales better is doing better. They certainly still have a lot of ways to catch players out, so heroic entrance is going to be a huge tool. Sun needs to be in the right locations in order to get that one working. Keen can play well in the split push, but at the moment he's not actually able to do so. He's waiting for a potential team fight or something like that around this Baron pit.
10 seconds until the Baron is available. Griffin should be able to handily win a fight. They have all of the advantages that they could possibly hope for at this stage of the game, and obviously they're renowned for their team fighting. So we'll see what ends up happening. Chovy does have the teleporties moving towards the bottom right-hand side of the map. He's trying out a pick ward, though.
Yep, aiming. Going to get a bit of damage there onto Chovy as Proto Belt's going to be utilized, and aiming with the culling moving in the wrong direction, but Dread gets him over. Chovy's going to take the claw out. Death Sentence, sorry. The Dark Passage available there from Lahens, and he gets his mid laner to safety. No summoner spells needed for that one.
Almost a close call, though. Although Afreeca going to be able to raise this mid-tier 2 turret. Maybe a fight's about to happen.
Yep, the box does go down there from Lahens, trying to create that slow field as Tarzan. A fair bit of damage there onto Jelly. Hero's entrance comes in. No joy on the knockups, though. And the Olaf does eventually go down. Dark Passage not quite enough. Oh, the Kai'Sa just evaporates in the backline, and Afreeca, they may have done it. They may have found it. It's Keen thrown underneath the turret, but look at these health bars. They're just so low. Chovy gets back in and just does what the Kai'Sa couldn't. Lahens is having a day out. Just exceptional play on this Thresh, and he's able to end the life of Keen with a well-deserved kill.
And what looked like was going to be potentially a really good fight for Afreeca just gets turned around entirely as soon as Rise arrived. And so now Griffin back in the driver's seat, almost a 7,000 gold advantage for them. We take another quick look at the replay. Lahens goes in. The turret actually ends up living. The box came down. Galio ultimate. So much damage being dished out. Olaf doing the best Leroy Jenkins impression I've seen in a while.
Oh, true.
As right there, Viper, he ends up getting locked up too, but look at what ends up happening. Chovy able to do a lot of AoE damage. Sword gets here, reminds everyone that not only is he tanky, but he deals a lot of damage.
Yep, and that Lantern Ride was just stunning from Lahens. He seems to have a magnet on the end of his hook, and a lot of these Afreeca players are made out of metal. This guy's just not missing very many. That's 4 items completed now for Viper. Has himself even room for a control ward. Well, that's a good AD carry player right there.
Mountain Drake is live. We'll see if Griffin just looks to pick it up immediately. It does look like that is on the menu for Viper and Tarzan.
Yep.
This should be
very, very fast.
A really easy Baron capture now. I am a little bit curious why they're posturing as long as they are.
Well, the Freecs actually have complete vision control over this area. There is a control ward in the back of the pit, so Griffin do know that the Baron hasn't been started. But you'd expect with this much control over the game, they'd have control over the Baron pit. One of the benefits of blue side is Supercharge against Viper in there to try and start off a fight. Sword now looking for the Rune Prison, does get it there onto Jelly as Keen. Shroud down right in the middle of this Griffin squad. He ults to try and get himself out as Chovy's gone for the flank. But you can see that's a 2-man taunt, but we're fighting on multiple fronts. Chovy is keeping 3 people busy. Hero's entrance now to try and get Sun back in as now Viper dives his way forward. Oh, he just wants so much more as Sword can't quite get in there, but does have the shield to come back. And Dread, he holds on to his Guardian Angel for now, but that is everyone having to back from Afreeca, and Griffin with 2 Mountain Drakes. I think this might be Baron, guys.
I do really think this could be Baron. They have the teleport available on Sword, but they're electing to not go for it. Keen now coming in. Oh,
right,
that wasn't Keen, that was aiming.
He's going to be able to clear out these wards around the Baron pit, so Griffin not actually comfortable with going for this one. Ocean Drake is being used to great effect. Griffin now back up to full health everywhere as the Baron has been started. Freeca probably expecting everyone to have gone for a reset.
And Sword looking like he wants to push out that bottom lane before teleporting back into this fight.
No
and
flash,
it might end up
no
being
glass
too late.
cone. Afreeca, they need to try and get into this pit as Sun is doing the best that he can. It is going to be Dread locking down the Baron, and Chovy found his way into the pit. He's going to die before he could do anything. The ultimate was already on cooldown, and now Afreeca trying to fight this one forward. Sword going extremely low. Jelly is going to be taken down. Viper's at full health this time, though, and he's got a double kill to start this one off. Tarzan able to run away, and Afreeca Freecs, they're not able to get rid of Viper this time.
They made it out of the fight. They have 3 members with Baron still remaining, and Afreeca may have just found their way back into the game. Griffin definitely have wave clear on their team, though. So it's not like the Baron is just simply a pushover. Elder, though, coming up in 2.5 minutes, the Baron will persist through that. As we take another quick look at the fight, this is the fight leading up to this. Sword uses the Righteous Glory, ends up locking down the Braum as his target of choice. Chovy able to demand so much aggro in the backline, but Sun able to do just as much and then escape at the very last second, as was Chovy, via the Thresh Lantern. Dread looking for Sword, and then Sword right here, very late to the party because he wanted to push out the bottom wave before teleporting in. And so because of that, he's very late to being able to deal the damage while all of the Afreeca members are all still clumped up. And then everyone gets locked up. Tarzan having to use his ultimate at the end right there. Sword ends up going down. Viper and Lehens trying to put on a show and a clinic, but not able to in the end. And now with the Baron buff, it's going to be lasting all the way through Elder.
Yeah.
Afreeca, they might be able to overcome Griffin.
We'll see whether they can actually break open the base. That is the next thing on the agenda here for the Afreeca Freecs. Sun's been getting some absolutely amazing taunts in these fights as well. You saw it was another 4-man around that Baron pit. Try and keep them all alive. It did so. Remember, the priority was the Braum. Jelly's been focused a heck of a lot so far, but you can see why he's so strong. Able to negate so much, able to draw so much aggro. And alongside the Galio, feels like they're often able just to get these heroic entrances down where they need them. He's now got a lock into the Iron Solari. Dread's on the bottom side of the map, just trying to split push here as the Kha'Zix. Interesting maneuver, as the Akali's going to take up shop there most likely. Deciding not to. Not a lot of minions remaining as Baron recall going to be utilized. So, not a lot of time left on this this Baron for the Afreeca Freecs, and Sun just sort of standing here on his own.
He's hanging out.
Yeah.
Elder Dragon going to be coming up in 30 seconds, and Afreeca are in total control of the vision surrounding it, but they're not the ones with 2 Mountain Drakes. It's not like they can just decide, hey, we're going to burst it down in 5 seconds.
They do have a lot of damage. I mean, that's Mercurial Scimitar now for aiming. He's got 6 items. He is done. Yeah. Same to be said for Viper, who's got an Infinity Edge now augmenting this build, so the Kai'Sa is very, very strong, but aiming is no slouch. So Griffin are going to have to be careful with where they go for these fights. Teleport in from Chovy. And look at all of this vision. It's just so lit up. Here for Afreeca. Dread. Predator over his head there as Tarzan has a GA. Not going to be too useless here on the Olaf this time around.
Elder Dragon is up. Predator. Oh,
Sun.
Man.
Okay, just going to bait it out. That's really nicely done from Tarzan to make sure he doesn't get locked down and taken out. Griffin now thinking like they have the inside track, now moving towards the inhibitor turret in the mid lane. Dread with the empowered W, just trying to deter Griffin from doing too much, as aiming will pick up the minion wave. But Griffin have them where they want them now. They've moved them into an unfortunate position here. A bit split across this map, and that's another hook that's going to land. Perfect timing for that one as well. Hero's entrance is going to be drawn out. It's a double knock up here as Sun trying to get himself into the backline. Chovy just self-ult, and aiming's able to get no damage. Dunkeen, though, he's able to just jump into the backline. Viper is taken out. Chovy's still buying so much time as the Galio will eventually fall. Dread has to get himself out, but now aiming. He's the consistent DPS, and he's able to get so much work done. Now Sword isn't able to get on top of the Lucian.
I think
Afreeca
did
GA.
it.
Yeah, exactly right. The Olaf is down now. And Sword, he needs to do this 1 versus 4. He's going to get closed in on. This should be the ace as he tries to buy time with his stopwatch, and that's going to be that. Aiming's the one that does it, and Afreeca are now going to try and push into the base.
And they're teleporting immediately. I think that they're going to go for the end. 24 seconds on Lehens and Viper.
They've got so much damage available to them. They should be able to eat through this inhibitor. Death timer, 14 seconds onto Viper. That is the only time that they need to worry about. It's 10 seconds now. First Nexus turret goes down. 5 seconds. Second Nexus turret goes down. The Nexus is going to go. Afreeca Freecs 2-1 over Griffin. 2 match losses in a row in this week of play for the Griffin squad. And Afreeca, look at how many players they've got, and they're all absolutely elated.
I'm a little bit speechless right now, Atlas, because Griffin, they had the better team composition, and the manner in which they just lost is that they got out-team fought.
Yeah.
Back to back into really decisive fights. After getting the game, what should have been a really easy victory.
I think so too. I feel like, I don't know, it might have been some arrogant initiations to come in for them, especially the fight in the mid lane, but that last one was honestly just a really nice fight from both teams, and they deserve this bow. Afreeca Freecs looks like they may have found themselves a roster that they're happy to stick with. That is 2 match victories in a row. First one was against KT. We weren't too worried about that one. We thought, you know, these are both bottom 4 teams. Not exactly a surprise there, but Afreeca then turning around and whooping Griffin in the face. That is insane. And it's not like the Gen G series, right? It's very different to that. This was not the stubborn drafting that Griffin had gone through, and we actually didn't mind the draft coming into game number 3.
No,
They just got outplayed.
Yeah, the drafting game number 3 was completely fine, and even though Sword, we talk about him being the weak link of Griffin, he was keeping up in the CS department.
Oh yeah, he was huge. He had a 1,000 gold bounty at one point.
Yeah, he was being camped, he was getting killed, he was being shut down, but he was doing his job. It wasn't until in the later stage team fights that a lot of the choices that he took for Rune Prison targets and engagements, the delayed teleport prior to the Baron, he really fumbled and dropped the ball. But in addition to that, other Griffin members, with the exception of maybe Lehens, they weren't able to really do anything. They looked extremely vulnerable yet again.
Yeah, and you can see Afreeca fans just crying with happiness right now because no one was expecting this. I wasn't expecting a 3-game series, especially not an Afreeca win. I was expecting the Griffin bounce back. I thought that they'd be able to do it. They did in game number 2, but 1 and 3 didn't look great at all. And I think that Griffin have a lot of things that they need to look at, but most of it comes down to the draft. And I think you're right that your criticism is about Sword, because I think, yeah, you have to be able to play it in the team fights. And yes, the Rise did look okay. It looked better than it did in the Gen G series, right? The Gen G series, he played back-to-back Rise games. That was his debut game on the Rise in 2019. It didn't look great at all. But here, did look better in the laning phase, but you've still got to be able to team fight with it, right? And that's what Griffin is super well known for. That's what Griffin is supposed to be good at. And they got out-team fought by a team that's fielded about 13 different people so far.
We're taking another quick look at this team fight, and it looked like it was going to start off so well. Lehens lands the death sentence and summons the box. Chovy doesn't take the engaged Dread. From behind, though, Grand Entrance does end up hitting Lehens, but Viper ends up getting locked up in just a second here. You can see Sun able to lock him up right there. Keen dealing so much damage. Chovy demanding aggro in the backline, but just look at Sword during this whole fight. He's not casting an ability. He finally does. Whips his Q right there. They finally bring down the Galio, and then he's dealing damage onto Dread. This was the real question mark. The Realm Warp, and then he takes it to go onto Dread. It should have been a full-on retreat. Tarzan not doing anything either. And it was at this point that Sword needed to probably just try to clear the minion wave and sacrifice his own life. Didn't elect to do that, tried to run the other way. And Keen, I would have liked to have seen him recall first before taking the teleport, buy the Sork Elixir, so they get the extra true damage to the turrets, maybe get an attack speed item. Do everything you can to maximize the value, shredding the turrets.
That being said, they look like they were just having a really, really good time. As you can see the Afreeca booth, definitely one of the most full, as it's like they're having a party. And they probably will tonight. Afreeca Freecs, absolutely phenomenal. Ah, wife of the Afreeca coach.
Yeah.
So, congratulations on the victory. Damn, bring your lucky charm, I think, is...
I thought you said damn when we came on camera, like I look like death. I feel like death.
We both certainly are there. And you can imagine the Griffin
6 feet under.
feeling pretty similar.
And yeah, go ahead.
It's a really rough time, man. I don't know what happened this week for Griffin. Feels like 9.5 was something that didn't really compute in their brains. I want to see them come back the next week around, because you don't want to be fumbling at this point. If Griffin get to the point where they have to, like, it's still likely that they take first, right? Because they've already had such an incredibly dominant season. However, if they're just waiting in the gauntlet after losing the majority of their games at the end of this split, that does not feel good at all.
Yeah,
you can imagine that a lot of these other teams just licking their lips, looking to try and be the next ones to take down the Dream Team.
And Griffin does still have quite a few big matches coming up. And then the real climax of the season, which I'm sure everyone is waiting for. You thought SK Telecom versus Griffin was...
Oh, it's Kings.
Thought that was hype? No,
that's
no.
what we did.
Match 89. Be there. March 31st.
You and me.
Jin Air Green Wings versus Griffin. That's
Will
it,
they do it again? Will they do it again?
Light meets darkness.
That is true. And look, Jin Air have done it before. They've denied it before. Not saying that it's a guarantee, but I feel like if the anime storyline is real, that is what's going to happen.
We'll be there for it.
Yeah. I feel like it's been a bit of a tale of Galio's so far for this series.
Making
it's
fun of
been
Galio's tail?
No,
You like it?
he's got a little one. Yeah, no,
They need to make a Godzilla Galio skin.
Godzilla. Oh my god, yes! Now that his model looks so different,
His model looks so good. They can make a Godzilla Galio skin.
that would be super.
They can have him fight Nautilus.
Oh,
Right?
and we can call the game Pacific Rim.
Oh my! And then Atrox can be the.
Oh my goodness!
Who cares about highlights?
Bring us the Pacific Rim League of Legends, everyone. That's all we want.
There we go.
All right.
Fantastic.
The Kaiju, or whatever.
Yeah, the Kaiju.
Not that I've watched Pacific Rim.
Did you watch number 2? The highlights are playing.
Yeah, and that was a taunt.
That was a taunt.
From Sun. That was a really nice one.
I believe that they're pressing QW and ER, not in that order, but
Well, a lot more than Sword was,
Yeah.
unfortunately, in this particular passage of play. That was the problem. You can see Afreeca actually had some really low health bars, but it was where they were able to create man advantages in this like small skirmish area that was just really beautiful to watch. Like, this was honestly Afreeca Freecs just out team fighting Griffin in almost every way, because Sword basically got no DPS off until he was the last man standing, where he had a full health bar, unable to utilize it at all, and that was because they were just jumping over walls, back and forward. And 32,000 damage for the Lucian is a ridiculous number.
For the Rise, dealing 17.6k, I mean, he's being chased by the Olaf, and that should not be happening with how close quarter combat the Afreeca team composition is. So,
yeah.
Pokemon Sword and Shield, definitely Shield showed up today.
Damn right it did. And it looked good.
Yeah.
That's why you first picked the Prom, dude. That's if you're Team Shield.
That's it.
Yeah, definitely Afreeca Freecs is going to be playing that particular version of Pokemon.
Comes out in like 7 months. I'm really sad.
I know, it's so
I was
far away.
Almost about to just go get a Switch yesterday. I'm like, oh, it must be coming out like next month. Maybe made a Detective Pikachu release. Maybe they're...
Hey. No. They released Pokemon cards today. You get new Pokemon cards for movies.
Really?
Yeah,
in Korea?
I don't know whether it's in Korea, but that's the thing that they're doing worldwide. So if you're still into the Pokemon trading card game, I know you're a Magic the Gathering fan, but Pokemon cards are still cool, aren't they?
They are. They're really cool.
Yeah.
I think Pokemon cards actually have better art. I think they have the best art.
Who was it that the original Pokemon artist? Ken Sugimori, I think his name was? He was one of my favorites. Not that I was a huge fan. Let's get back to the game, though. MVP aiming 8-3-6, and he did 43.7% of his team's damage. That's a big number. Really? Can you at least feign to be impressed? That's really good.
I am actually impressed here with Aiming's performance this game. I think that he actually did a really good job. Also, the close call with Chovy up in top lane as well. I mean, this game, he did maximize quite a bit of the damage. He was extremely exceptional on Lucian. That was a really good QSS as well.
Yeah.
Just now. Definitely making the most out of his time in a lot of the fights.
Dread also needs a shout out because that last team fight, the way he used Leap to get to and from over these walls, was just the way they kept the Rise out of the fight the entire time. Yes, that Realm Warp was certainly questionable, but you can see why, and you can see how Afreeca were able to play around it. So I don't necessarily want to look at this as a Griffin loss so much as Afreeca finding the victory, and these players want to as well. So let's throw it over to Jisung for some interview translation.
Thank you very much, guys. This is today's interview translation. Afreeca is keep ascending. We're going to be joined by Keen and Amy from Afreeca Freecs for this MVP interview. Did you feel any pressure facing up against the team on the first place? Were you confident? Well, recently we are having good results during the practice game, so we had sufficient confidence on our side. What about you, Aiming? It has been a while since I interviewed you. I think you have improved even better. During the scrims, we are on actually 10 games winning streak, so I think that kind of ended up for making us perform better on stage games. But you had a full set game. How did you manage yourself focus in game? We really wanted a 2-0 victory because game 3 will be really hard, but it didn't end out that way, so we were a bit nervous in game 3, but actually being nervous made us keep concentrated in game. So Keen, game 1, you played Aatrox. Some people say it because Aatrox doesn't really seem to be the best draft. What's your comments about that? Well, I personally think that Aatrox is a really good champion, so I think our draft was really good. And the top difference was really huge in game 1. And you played really well up against Griffin. How did you kind of manage your own plays during the laning phase? In the late games, actually, Aatrox is not in the lead, so I just try to focus in the early games and actually worked out fine. And your teamwork with Dread was really good, and Dread actually played some off-meta champions like Kindred and Kha'Zix was at his own opinion. Yeah, those are the champions that he is confident with, so we kind of wanted to reflect his own opinion. And do you always trust Dread, whichever champion he plays? I mean, there are some champions I don't like, but I try my best to believe him. Today, so there was this highlight near the Herald. Let's check out this together. Well, did you guys know that actually Griffin players had a late teleport over there? Well, we weren't actually aware of the bot laners teleport over here. We were just concentrating on our own plays. And you were keep chasing Sword and took him down. So why did you choose that path to chase Ribbon? Well, I tried to actually go for the waves in the top lane, but I just luckily found Sword over there, so I was able to pick up that kill. So that was the performance of Keen in the first set. And moving on to game number 3, you played Lucian. There were a lot of outplays on your side, but you were facing up against Viper. How was that? Because game 2 wasn't actually easy. Viper is a good player, so we trying to keep catching up with them.
네, 사실 저희 제작진분들 중에 에이밍 선수
최
루시안이다 이렇게 주장하시는 분이
one of our staff in the production says you are the best Lucian player in the world. Do you agree with that? According to today's performance, I do.
루시안 보여줬다고 생각을 합니다. 상대가 쓰레쉬가 오늘
But Griffin,
정말 잘 꽂아
especially Lee Hands, that sentence was so on point.
열릴 때 어떻게 대비해야겠다고 생각했어요?
So how did you manage to play, kind of counterplaying against it? You know, I thought that there were too many CCs, so I built early QSS. So I just wanted to drop as many CCs as possible. And that's why I was able to kind of play better in team fights.
에이밍 선수 활약 장면도 마지막 한타에서 보겠습니다.
And let's check out this highlight of the final team fight that ended the game.
지켜보면 에이밍 선수가 아래쪽에서 위쪽에 팀원들이 전투를 할 때 아래쪽으로 잘
when your Afreeca players were having a team fight with the top side, you are actually doing a lot of damage in the back line. Well, I was having my eyes on both sides of the team fight, and I just wanted to make sure to do as many damage as possible. So that was where the game was totally went over to Afreeca's side. So how was your teamwork with Jelly today? I mean, Jelly wasn't really perfect, but he did a fairly good job.
있을 수 있으니까요. 하지만 오늘 아프리카 프릭스 굉장히 좋은 모습 보여줬습니다. 정말 마음고생이 많았는지 선수들이 다 뛰어나와서 축하해주는 모습.
I saw all the other Afreeca sub players coming out to support you and congratulate the victory today. Even also the coaching staffs. I mean, it must have been a struggle to having such a hard split, right? Well, normally during the stage games, I don't really get excited too much, but during the Griffin series today, I got excited a lot. So I think I had a really good game today. Top is one of the most important lanes in the current meta, so I think he and you are the key players of your team. And moving on to aiming, how about you? I'm really happy that we took down Griffin, and also I think we are the team that takes down the stronger team in LCK. There were a lot of fans supporting you guys out here. Any message for them? I know that. I mean, we took down KT Roaster, but our results are not really as good as they expect. So we just want to make sure to do our best in our remaining series. So I hope you guys keep supporting us. Thank you. What about you, Aiming? Every time when we play on competitive game, I hope we just can come up with improved performance on and on. So I hope you guys keep supporting us. Thank you. Congratulations once again for today's victory, and thank you very much for this interview. This was Keen and Aiming from Afreeca Freecs, and I'm going to pass it back to our casters. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ji-sun, for the translation of the MVP interview. And Afreeca Freecs, the second team to beat Griffin. Just wasn't expecting this turn of events, LS. I don't know what. What do we expect now? What is the LCK? As Griffin have guaranteed playoffs, but they've just lost to Gen.G and Afreeca, and now KT, who are going to be playing next, are in a really rough spot.
Yeah, and KT, they need to come up with a win here, because losing, I mean, obviously going into the match, most people think that Sandbox is the favorites. Or they are the favorites going into it. And so KT, obviously wanting to avoid that relegation spot, every single win counts, especially with Afreeca getting that one win. On Real Life, they've crawled too far away, I'm assuming. I don't think there's any way. So it's really now coming down to Gen.G and KT Rolster.
And now we've got the relegation zone battle. Of course, Jin is already there, guys. Sorry, the Glad plane is going to be parking itself in the promotion tournament at the end of this one. But Afreeca and Gen.G and KT Rolster are all fighting to get out. And as you can see, Afreeca have already got through 2 of their matches. And Griffin being in the victory column is absolutely huge for them.
Yeah, and this is a really scary thing, too, because with Griffin getting their second loss here, that means that Jin Air is bound for a win, and KT faces Jin Air on the 23rd. That can't be good.
Nope. And in fact, KT looks like they have the easiest run to get out of this one. So, look, there's still hope for our former LCK champions of 2018 summer to find their way out of the promotion tournament, but man, it's all still up in the air. And we know that absolutely anything can happen, LS.
Yeah.
So moving into our next series, we're going to have Sandbox versus KT Rolster. It's going to be after a little